So, if you're like me, you're unfortunately getting Soyuz at the very, very last bit of polls, or the last poll before the pity, like I did. And you have two of these. Should you use two? Is it worth using two? Is it worth investing in the two? So if you've seen this video many, many times now, pretty much the answer is going to be no. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, that's probably going to be the answer, and most likely going to be the answer for this video as well too, to save yourself a little bit of trouble. But regardless, I'm going to explain the benefits in raising a second one because, hey, someone out there might really, really love the Northern Parliament faction and want to raise a second one, and they're going to be asking, Kimo, I like Northern Parliament so much that I want to raise a second Soyuz. How can I get a lot of benefits in getting a second one? Well, I'll go ahead and talk to you guys. So the big reason as to why you want to get a second Soyuz or use a second Soyuz is because of this skill right here, this last one. Like I said before, this skill right here reduces damage increase by 10%. I think someone corrected me in saying that the crit rate decrease of torpedoes is only for her. So you only get a 10% damage reduction for the ships in other fleets, not this one. If you use two of these, that means both fleets get 10% damage reduction. Honestly, that's like one full line right there. And I didn't really go into detail with damage reduction in general, but take a look at this. So there are a couple ships in this game with damage reduction. I would go ahead and say like Eagle Union, Light Cruiser, I think Columbia. Columbia has a skill right here called Flagship Cover, which reduces damage taken on your flagship by 25%. And for sake of using Columbia. Now, Columbia, in terms of DPS, is a horrible ship. 0 damage. Basically, you only use her for flagship cover. If you use Soyuz, not only do you get a beneficial ship to have in combat, you also get 10% damage reduction for the other fleet. So if you use 2 Soyuz, that means you have 2 damage reduction. That's basically a full ship right there. It may not look like it, but you're running 7 ships. That's how good the line is. So, Soyuz, this line right here, is absolutely a monster. Especially when you have OS. This line right here is a monster. Now, for campaign, again, this is the only time you can actually use 2 ships of the same kind. You can get some benefits from this. You can think of her as like a mini Musashi in the sense that Musashi was very, very good in Chapter 14 because she protects her carriers from like torpedoes and like suicide bombers and all that jazz in Chapter 14. So if you want to run like double Soyuz, you can do that in Chapter 14. There's not much anti-air there. But personally, I think Musashi is a much better flagship for Chapter 14 and campaign in general because she has that overall backline protection. And then if you have damage on your vanguards or whatever, your healers can heal that all up. So it's not a big deal over there. So personally, to me, it's better to just run a Musashi and a Soyuz than just go double Soyuz if you want to do it that way. But if you want to run double Soyuz because you are that big fan of Northern Parliament, best value to get out of her would be just campaign. And then you have double damage reduction. It's really, really good. And then you probably see most of this from Chapter 14 and 15 because that's when damage are going to start ramping up. And that's when you're going to start taking a lot of damage. So best used in those campaign maps. But for the most part, though, like I said at the beginning of the video, it is not worth getting a second one. Use it for limit breaking. I kept the second one first for collection, though. But you guys, if you guys are new, relatively new or whatever, you want to save the extra bullet, use that duplicate. Use it on your main Soyuz because 1 bullet means 1 month saved on those little currency, whatever, UR bullets. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next video as always.